enough, you could tell that I love the Hall of Fame. I cover Halls of Fame so much. I'm part of notinthehallofFame.com with Kirk Buckner. Make sure you check that out. I've been following both Canton, Cooperstown, Springfield, Toronto, a lot of these Halls of Fames for several years now. I am inundated with all the other teams' Hall of Fames, as well as who will get inducted into them, as well as the discussion and discourse throughout Twitter, Facebook, and all the other social media feeds for who will or should, or in some cases should not, get inducted into these Halls of Fames. Before I get into who is up, I mean, first just let people know this. Those that don't know about me, I actually got into Hall of Fames not because of interest in the sport. What happened instead was that when I was younger, I would be drawn to a lot of these crossovers by places like Nickelodeon or Nintendo. And I realized, hey, the best of the best, the most well known characters are generally the ones that find these crossovers and the ones that are especially playable. And I saw being playable in a crossover game was equivalent to, especially a big one like that, will be equivalent to being inducted into an actual Hall of Fame. So that's how it really worked for me. I'm also someone that really knows history very, very well. And I've done a lot of research over the years of people just from this year all the way back to the 1800s, even. So let us begin for what I'm here to talk about. Tomorrow, the Pro Football Hall of Fame will have their committee for the senior and coaches, and as well as the following week, it'll be deciding who the contributor choice would be. For those that don't know, a senior is a player that has been retired for more than 25 years, but yet has not been inducted yet. A coach is, well, any coach, really. And as for a contributor, that's anyone that's not a player and a coach. So a team executive, a GM, an owner, an official, someone that's part of the media, anyone, really anyone could be a contributor if you really think about it. Someone that can help inside the game or even outside that could help it. That's who a contributor is in its most basic forms. Now, let me just disclaimer. I'm going to give you the predictions of who I think it will be, and then right afterwards, I will give you my predictions of who I would like it to be. So let's start off with the contributors, which is going to be speaking next week. For me, there are several routes they can go. There is Ralph Hay, who is of course the founder of the NFL. He was the one that organized the meeting with the coaches in his car with the Canton Bulldogs, and of course, the NFL was formed. It's been 100 years, and it's still going very, very strong. Very easy choice. I've actually surprised he did not make it in 2020, but it is what it is. He's still eligible, and there's still intrigue. Another person I've seen people talk about is Bucko Kilroy, who, of course, was a great player on his times with the Eagles, but of course, is one of the pioneers of the NFL draft and helped make the draft what it is today. And other people like Eddie Codell, he made scouting a thing. He also was the guy that signed the first two ever black players in the NFL, that being Kenny Washington and Woody Strode. Those two, I think, should also be in the Hall of Fame, and I'll get to them in a second. But for me, I personally think the guy that they will go with should be Art McNally. For those that don't know who Art McNally is, he was the head of officiating for a long time in the NFL and was also responsible for instant replay. He's been a part of the NFL for 50 years, really. I mean, I think he's retired now, but he's 96 years old. There's not much time left for him. I'd personally give it to him right now because there could be a chance that he's not on this earth in the next coming year. I would say it's just the right thing to do. Other than Hugh Shorty Ray in 1966, we haven't had an official or any kind of referee in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Baseball has 10 of them. Both hockey and basketball have 16, but football still doesn't have any, even though back in 1963 they plan on having officials, but we still haven't had any outside of Ray, really. And I think McNally is the next step. He is the obvious choice for me, and I'm shocked he didn't make it last year, but Bill Nunn, obviously a great choice as well. But I think considering there's not much time left on his clock, Art McNally is the one that you should go with. It's one who I would personally go with, even though I'm more of a Ralph Hay guy. I think in this situation, considering there's not much time left for McNally, I would go with him as my choice. And plus, I want to see the referees finally get something that they've been wanting for a very, very, very long time. The fact that they have not had a single person inducted or given any honor is disgraceful. And it makes it feel like, why even bother being a referee if you're not even going to be honored at the end of the day? Moving on to the coaches. The coaches, this one I don't really see as many people talking about because there's really just only a couple candidates that really think to mind as the one they will go with. That's not saying that there isn't many deserving coaches. There are many deserving coaches. Dan Reeves comes to mind. Mike Holmgren also comes to mind. Odie Sport Donnelly comes to mind. He was the first ever football coach. There's many you can go with. You can go with some coordinators. You can go with maybe some innovators as well. But these are the three that I think. For my third most likely, I think it's going to be Clark Shaughnessy. Those that don't know, Clark Shaughnessy is considered the godfather of the T formation. He helped innovate it for the NFL. He's a big reason why the Bears were so successful during the Sid Luckman era, because he helped engineer it. And he was also a short time a head coach for the Los Angeles Rams. And then later, the Bears hired him to be their defensive coordinator. And he's figured out a plan how to go against the T formation. He built it. Now he also found a way to stop it, to stop those formations. And he did a great job at it. That is a guy I could also see making it. And he was a finalist a couple times, but all those times in the 70s, I like to see him get some recognition. Another coach I could see making it is Don Coryell. This is a heavily requested choice. Coryell, yeah, even though he never been to a Super Bowl or even let alone win one, he was very influential in changing the game of how offenses are today. He has a very long line of people like John Madden and, Joe Gibbs, and of course, Bill Walsh, that have all come from his tree and have all implemented those formations into their game plan. Obviously, Coryell is a very deserving guy. He has been a finalist 6 times before, all of them since 2010, or 7 times, not too sure, but he has been a finalist many times, and his time is coming soon. However, I don't think it's going to be this year because personally, I think the coach that they will go with, and also the coach that I want to see myself, would be Raymond Buddy Parker. For those that don't know who Buddy Parker is, Buddy Parker was the man that put the Lions on the map in the 1950s. He invented the 2-minute offense and made the Lions themselves win 3 NFL championships, all against the Cleveland Browns. Was it all against Cleveland Browns? I'm not sure, but they won 3 championships in the 1950s. Afterwards, after a couple playoff bowl wins in the 1960s, they never won another playoff game until 1991, where of course they then lost to the then Washington Redskins in the NFC Championship game. But the Lions themselves have not had much success since they have been the team of the 50s. I think a big reason why is that's a big reason why I think Parker does deserve to make it. He's very similar to Flores in a sense, in the fact that they've both won 2 championships, and even though it was a rather narrow time, Flores changed the game for people that looked like him, but Parker changed the game for people that wanted to be like him. And I think that alone is a big reason why Parker is someone I really, really, really want to see. But especially if it's not Parker or Coryell, I could see someone like Holmgren or Shaughnessy, but I think it's probably going to be Parker, especially considering that, Flores won 2 championships as a head coach. Parker's won 2 championships as a head coach, and frankly, he's responsible for that third one too. I think that alone is what I think makes him deserving for the Hall of Fame, and I hope Lions fans really push for him. Unfortunately, I haven't really seen that much for them. But to be fair, it's been a long time ago. Most Lions fans aren't alive from that era or really remember that era. But it's okay. Don't worry. I got your back. And then finally, the one that most people are interested to see is who the senior inductee will be. Who will be the senior nominee? Who will be the senior finalist for this year? Now, obviously, the list is very, very massive. There's many people, the guys that many people want. You could look at the pre-NFL days. You could look at someone like Pudge Heffelfinger and John Bralier and Charles Follis. Or you can look at other guys from the pre-NFL era like Laverne Dilwig, Rox Emerson, Alan Amici, Cecil Isbell, Al Wistert. Look at the AFL era. You have Walt Sweeney, Jim Chirer, Art Powell, Dave Grayson. And you could even see just in those eras, like the 60s and the 70s, Ken Riley, Ken Anderson, Chuck Howley, Randy Gradishar, Cliff Branch, Joe Klecko. There's many names that people have said so much, and this is the one that most people are interested in to see it. I can't blame them. Most people generally care about players. Even though I'm more of a contributor guy because they're not the norm, I can understand why people want to care about the players. They go to see the players play. They're the ones that the league profits on, so it makes sense why people would want to see them inducted absolutely first and foremost. Soon afterwards, they probably need to do 2 seniors per year because that's what the people want. That's what some of the voters want too. Hopefully afterwards they expand to like 9 or 10 per year and add a pre-NFL guy. But I'm getting behind myself. I'm getting ahead of myself right here. As for who I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be one of these few guys. Cliff Branch is someone that they have mentioned, but I can't really see him because they just inducted Drew Pearson. I don't think they're going to go back-to-back on 70s wide receivers. And no, it's not because they're a Raiders bias. I just can't see it. Some people think that because Gary Myers is on it now, they're going to put in Joe Klecko. I'm not too sure about that. They tried in the past and hasn't gotten through, so I'm not really sure it's going to be that successful this time. Randy Gradishar is someone that many people want, but I think personally that considering the outcome of last year and also the support and the push from the Bengals fans, I honestly think it's going to be Ken Riley. Ken Riley, of course, very underrated quarterback out of his era. Some could say that Lamar Parrish was better, but at the same time, during his time, Ken Riley was able to catch the 4th most amount of interceptions all time, 2nd most ever by a cornerback. Very underrated. Yes, he might not have had a Pro Bowl, but he had 3 All-Pros, and he was still a first-team All-Pro in his final season. A big reason why he also wasn't a Pro Bowl because he also wasn't very a flashy guy. He was very kept to himself. He was very calm. And that's, like it or not, that's a big reason why some people don't vote for certain guys. And I do feel like once you get Ken Riley in, I think you could finally bust through that idea of, oh, if you don't make a Pro Bowl, you don't make it. Yeah, that you could say that could water it down. I don't really care. People want their guys. Jim Plunkett never been to a Pro Bowl, but many people want to see him in. It doesn't really matter. But all in all, those are my predictions of who the senior coach and the contributor is. I see Ken Riley coming as our senior candidate. I see Buddy Parker going as our coach, and I see Art McNally coming as our contributor. In case you're curious who the runner-ups would be, I think the second place would be Randy Gradishar for the senior, Don Coryell for the coach, and Ralph Hay for the contributor. And finally, for the third place, who I think the interest could be, I think we would get probably some for Joe Klecko for the senior, maybe like Art McNally or Mike Holmgren for the coach. And for that contributor section, I think Buckle Kilroy would be the third place guy that would go through. So those are my picks, guys. Tell me what you think down in the comment section below. Please like this video if you haven't already. Hit the comments section. Tell me your thoughts of who you think the senior coach and contributor would be. Who do you want to see in the Hall of Fame? Tell me everything you need to. Tell me everything you need to do. Anyway, guys, just tell me anything you want. Who would you like to see in the Hall of Fame? And who do you think is going to make the Hall of Fame this year? Who are your favorite Raiders that you want to see it? For me, it's probably Art Powell, Amy Trask, Cliff Branch, and Dave Grayson. Those come to mind. Don't forget Wilfred Wilkenbach, the inventor of fantasy football. Raider made that. Anyway, guys, best of luck. Stay safe and be careful tomorrow.